and Assalamualaikum.
Hello and a very good day, dear teachers.
I'm Norfarizan binti Pathan from SK Pesrai Batu Pahat.
And I, Niwashini Nambiar Aravindan from SMK Mutiara Rini. We are the State Technical Officer for Poetry Recitation, and today we are here to let you know and to guide you how to train your students with the Poetry Recitation competition. And we're going to look into many aspects of this competition, so sit back, relax and listen to us.
Okay, first of all, we are going to look into what is poetry recitation. It is a competition that allows students to express their creativity and linguistic skills through vocal performance, not dramatic performance.
You're right, Farizan. Okay, so as a teacher, before you train your students, you need to know the rules and the judging criteria. So let's look at the aspect. The first aspect is you need to understand the maximum penalty which will be given to each student will be 5 marks. Therefore, you need to make sure that they truly did not do any mistakes while reciting the poem. So, the eligibility. Year for primary school, year 4 to year 6. Meanwhile, for secondary school, Form 1 to Form 3 student, and make sure the two members are from the same school. The time limits for primary school students are 4 to 6 minutes. Meanwhile, for the secondary school, 5 to 7 minutes for prepared speech and 2 to 3 minutes for impromptu speech. But wait, there are 10 minutes quarantine for the impromptu session. As for the text, you need to make sure it has to be authentic and original. Kindly, please do not touch on any sensitive issues as it may result to disqualification. So what are the sensitive issues? Obviously, political, stereotypes and many more. Last but not least, for recitation, you need to make sure there is no opening greetings, commentaries, singing, music, props or artificial sound effects, as well as theatrical performance and excessive movement during the poetry recitation.
Next is the adjudication criteria. The marks vary for primary and secondary. And for primary, you have to look at all of these elements. Content and language, there will be complexity, diction, syntax, meter, rhyme, scheme, tone and mood. And then evidence of understanding, how understand they are on the meaning, the theme, the allusion, the irony and the tones of the voice of the poems, the voice and articulation, the volume, the pace, the rhythm, the intonation, the proper pronunciation, the next overall performance, eye contact, body language, poise, and lastly, dramatic appropriateness. Is it powerful internalization or distracting dramatic gestures? Okay, you are going to look into few examples for this criteria, and you can see which one is better than the other.
In the month of doing PBL. Oh, PBL again! Don't worry, let's do it together. Do you know that? It is the time we join together to have group discussion. We solve problems together. We think about the facts. We search for the information online. We do the PowerPoint slides. We practice for better performance. We build strong relationships with each other. We know that how important the friendship is.
This is the script of the poem. If you can see the complexity of the poem, the diction, the choice of words, these are the explanation that we have come out for you to think about the complexity, the diction, the syntax, the meter, the rhyme scheme, the tone, the mood for that particular poem.
So when we look at the complexity, this poem is relatively very straightforward and easy for anyone, especially the audience, to understand. They use a very simple language and clear ideas which actually limit its complexity, which actually one of the criteria when it comes to judging process. Next, the word choice, which is very simple and direct. The poem uses everyday language which makes it accessible and may not showcase a wide range of vocabulary. Next, when it comes to the meter, this poem does not follow a strict meter pattern. The lines are vary in length and doesn't seem to adhere to a very specific rhythmic structure, which is also one of the important aspects when it comes to poetry recitation.
The rhyme scheme, the poem lacks a consistent rhyme scheme. While it has some internal rhymes and repetition, there's no clear pattern. The tone is positive and collaborative from the presentation, you can see from there. And the mood is also encouraging and supportive. Next, you are going to look at another presentation, another recitation.
Each whispered sigh, a lamenting cry, a melody of sorrow soaring high. The field subsides, the heart does roam in search of solace far from home.
Tears like raindrops, soft they fall upon a heart weary and small. A tapestry of dreams, now frayed and torn. In the silence of night, all is mourned.
Okay, this is the sample poem recited by the previous presentation, the recitation. Alright, so let us look in detail. So when it comes to the complexity, this poem is moderate, okay, and the language is somewhat sophisticated, but at the same time it is remain accessible, which means anyone, even the audience, able to understand each and every word that's being articulated by the respective participants. And it also balances the imagery and also with the straightforward expression. Alright, when it comes to the diction, if you can see, the participant use very thoughtful and evocative words, okay, and they also utilize the terms like lamenting, solace and mourn, which actually will establish a very somber mood. So this diction is very consistent with the melancholic theme. And when it comes to the syntax, it is very straightforward, where each line contributing to overall rhythm and the flow of the poem. The sentences are well structured, aiding in poem's readability.
Okay, for the meter, the poem follows a consistent rhythmic structure, enhancing its melodic quality. Each line maintains a similar syllable count, the stressed and the unstressed, contributing to a steady meter. And then the poem employs a structured rhyme scheme, which is AA and BB, with each pair of lines rhyming. This pattern adds to the poem's cohesiveness. And lastly, the tone. The tone is sorrowful and contemplative from the choice of words and imagery in the poem. Next, we are going to look into another.
In the whispers of the summer breeze, as sunlight dances on the dew-kissed leaves, time weaves tales of changing seas to golden days and autumn eves. The world spins on its ancient thread, a tapestry of shifting hues. Yet love remains, though seasons shift. Its steadfast light is forever true.
Okay, for this poem, for this recitation, the evidence of understanding is a bit lacking. As you can see, the poem is good, but there is no internalization.
It's an exchange of hearts, speaking in a fluent language of arts. A bond that forms within, filling up the spaces between. You and I will just be stories someday. Old photographs hanging on our concrete walls. Darling words we were too shy to say. Another decade, you're still what my heart fonts.
For this recitation, there is a good evidence of understanding from both of the both participants. Even the one who is not reciting the poem, she has this facial expression that shows that she understands the meaning, the theme, the allusion, the irony, and the tones of voice of the poem. from their facial expression, their body gestures, and the voice, their voice, that's how they show the evidence of understanding.
Exactly, I agree with you. They manage to convey the message through their voices and also their intonations and also the messages, which means the theme. They manage to convey to the audience very effectively.
But son, my love is out of care. I feel for you in this world, but kindness is so rare. Your rebellious spirit, it worries me so. Please understand, it's love that I show. Your love is like chains holding me down. I need to break free to stand my ground. I'll find my way on my own path, even if it means facing your wrath.
Okay, for this presentation, the most awkward part is the voice, the volume of the presentation. The boy is shouting. Please don't shout. You can have a high volume. You can not scream, but you can have a bit high volume, but not shouting. When you shout, it will distract your pace, it will disrupt your rhythm, your intonation, even your pronunciation, because you are rushing because you are shouting. So please don't shout in your recitation.
Exactly. Alright, so now let's look at another presentation.
In times of peace, in times of war, the love for country grows much more. It's in the pledge, the oath we swear, a promise that we all will share.
Okay, for this performance, both have a balanced volume. Both participants have balanced volume. You can hear both of their voices. And then the pace, there are some slow, some fast, and the rhythm has a good rhythm to it. The intonation, as according to the lines in the poem, and they have a very good pronunciation. They articulate each of every word very clearly.
Spoken and written forwards are easy to say. Know so little about those helpless today, since they themselves are doing quite okay. Nobody stand by us at the end of the day. The way I see the world.
Look at the world today. The water was clear, now murky and gray, polluted by our actions day by day. Our waste and chemicals, they flow and sink into the rivers, the lakes, and the deep.
Okay, so when we look at this performance, it clearly can be seen that the overall performance is lacking of certain criteria, which is the eye contact, the body language, and also the poise. We can clearly see that the participant is not ready and they are very nervous. So as a teacher, you need to start training your students to stay composed, not nervous, right in front of the audience.
A cry rings out, the sister falls, her brother's flight, upon her hand. By a blind bullet, he succumbs, he crawls in her backpack. He's rushed to the upper land. Through smoke and ash, they find the door of a hospital, a beacon's gleam. And within, no healers anymore. Only silence and unbroken scream. In her arms, her brother faints.
Alright, as we we can see in this performance, it is very clear that both participants are very well prepared. Their body language reflects the theme and the messages that they are trying to convey to the audience. And most importantly, they are not nervous. They have eye contact with almost everyone in the particular place.
Every situation is a reflection chapter. Every deadlock is a breakthrough phase. Like a stream gushing down from the hilltop, flowing and forming a river, the habitats of all. Challenges are races without any pit stop, moving forward through each hurdle and wall. Looking back at the points of despair.
Alright, so when it comes to this part, the dramatic appropriateness, you need to clearly understand what is powerful internalizations versus dramatic gestures. So, as we can see in this performance, their gestures are pretty dramatic and actually disrupting the entire poetry recitation session. So, when we are reciting a poem, we should avoid all those dramatic gestures.
Malacca streets are delightful heritage. Nyonya cuisine is a fusion treat. From tangy asam pedas to delicate kueh, a symphony of flavors uniquely Malaysian. From Indian rotis to Chinese dim sum, Malaysia's diverse table is a feast for everyone, featuring Malay rendang and Tamil dosa. The country showcases unity in its culinary saga.
So, this is one of the very good example of how you can train your students, and you can show this to your students so that they can understand. They can able to differentiate between the powerful internalization versus distracting dramatic gestures. You have to remember, poetry recitation is about the voice intonation and how you are conveying a message through your voice, not through your dramatic gestures. So, the key component. When it comes to the script development, you have to use an authentic original poetry with the vivid imagery and emotional depth. So, you have to highlight the poetic devices like metaphor, simile, imagery, onomatopoeia and rhythm. And when it comes to the performance skills, you have to focus on the proper articulations, rhythm and intonation. You have to teach your student how to maintain clarity and connect emotionally with the audience through the internalizations of the poem, which means the poet need to understand the poem first before they are reciting the poem. So, let us look at the script development. When it comes to the script development, so this is an example, Whispers of the Dawn. So, the first stanza, when it comes to the first line, we actually incorporate simile. Next, followed by imagery and onomatopoeia. When it comes to the second stanza, we incorporate metaphor first, followed by imagery and rhythm. Alright, so when it comes to the secondary school impromptu, okay, you have to start training your students to create a poem with a strong message. They need to know what is metaphor, simile, imagery, onomatopoeia and rhythm, and how to use it and where to include it appropriately. You need to start training your kids to write poems by including these poetic devices. Alright, so this is one of the videos that we have provided for you guys to actually read on more on poetic devices and how to use it when it comes to creating a poem. You can watch this video when we have provided the module to you guys.
Yep.
Okay, so here comes another part, the training techniques. Okay, how can you train your kids with the poetry recitation? First, you can focus on warm-up activities like breathing exercises, tongue twisters, and also vocal warm-ups to enhance the clarity and projections. Vocal warm-up is very important to avoid the students to shout during reciting the poem. Okay, there's a huge differences between loud voice projections and shouting. Okay, for the coaching tips, always make sure teach your students to focus on eye contact and confident body language. Break the poems into stanza and study its structure and messages. This is very important, especially for the secondary school students, because later on they have to create an impromptu poem. Next, help the students to internalize and understand the poem better, because from there they can actually recite the poem and able to convey the message to the audience. Last but not least, use a metronome to perfect timing and also rhythm. Okay, the example of metronome. If you are teaching a poem like The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost, the famous poet, which is written in iambic tetrameter, 4 iambic feet per line, you might set the metronome to around 80 BPM. So each click would align with an unstressed and stressed syllable. Two roads diverge in a yellow wood. First beat unstressed and second beat stressed, or etc. The steady rhythm will help the students to focus on the meter and help to maintain the tempo. You can also train them by practicing recording the video of rehearsal for critics and self-assessment. Stimulate the competition setting to build confidence, which you can do it in your school itself. Okay, inter-class competitions or school competition, it's up to you how you want to carry it out. You try to get the feedback from peers and mentors. Last but not least, exercise for voice projections and articulations by using microphones, because this will be an issue each time during the competition. For impromptu session, which is particularly for the secondary school students, the students are advised to read a lot of poems. And teachers, please practice your students to write and start with a topic that is close to themselves. You can also practice by using Blackout Poetry. blackoutpoetry.com, this is the website that you can access. And you also try to find out a lot of vocabulary based on the emotion as preparation for poetry recitation. So these are the example of blackout poems or poetries that you can use in the classroom as part of the activity to introduce poems for your students.
Okay, for useful tips, please choose a poem that resonates personally to enhance authenticity. Then break down the poem structure and themes for you to explain to your kids to internalize the poem. It helps them. Practice line breaks and pauses to emphasize meaning. Engage the audience with confident eye contact and natural gestures. Avoid monotone or overly dramatic tones and avoid rushing. Maintain a steady pace and clear pronunciation. Remember, it's all about vocal presentation, performance, internalization. The do's and the don'ts. Okay, for the do's, please maintain a good posture and appear poised, confident, and understand every word and the nuance of the poem. Understand the poem wholly and by bits. Don'ts: avoid acting the poem or using exaggerated gestures, and don't rush. Ensure every word is clear and impactful. Pronunciation is very important. Okay, for script analysis, this is the script for the PBL video just now. As you can see, something like that. You smile at me. As you can see, the script is very simple, and this is a script that we have enhanced using AI. So, teachers, I know that creating, producing, developing a script is very hard for you. So, we are going to teach you on how to use AI in helping you to create a very good poem from scratch. Okay, first, create your own poem using the theme, topic, concept, and ideas of your own preference. For example, you write down about anything. You write a poem about yourself, about sky. Write a poem about sky. Your own poem. at least a stanza or 2 stanzas, depends on you. And then you can use AI as a mentor in creating poem. AI tools that you can choose to use is like gemini.google.com or copilot.microsoft.com. Okay, and then from the poem that you have done, you have written, you copy that poem and paste it into the tool sites and add on these prompts. How can I make my poem more impactful, and what poetic devices can I add to make this stanza stronger? And from these steps, you can get a new, better poem. So, AI is to ask for help. You ask AI assistance to improve your poem. From there, AI will explain how to make it better and offers a revised example. And then you can choose which part of the poem that you want to enhance. You can focus on the whole poem, you can copy paste the whole poem, or you just want to enhance a specific stanza. And then lastly, what you have to do is make sure that the final product from the AI matches your intended theme, topic and ideas, because AI is still tools. It's not human.
It's
in the end,
tools.
in the end, poem is about human. It's not about technology. It's not machine. So yeah, you have to ensure you have to review the final product.
Always remember, do not depend on AI fully. You should have your own idea. So you are here, you have to use AI as a mentor, not fully depend on it. Okay, next, in order to teach the art of poem, okay, you can use AI art generators like DALL-E or Bing Image Creator or Canva AI or Gemini to create images based on a poem theme. Like for example, input a poem like a lone tree in a golden field sway to the whispering wind and the word image if needed to generate the artwork. Then we break it into 2 different stages. The first one is the interpretation stages and also the practical stage. So during the interpretation stages, the student can share their interpretations of the poem. Remind the student that there is no right or wrong when it comes to interpretations. When it comes to the practical stage, students are required to write a poem based on the image. So ask them how do they feel, what they can feel about the poem when they look at the respective image. When you look at the image, what can you think of? Because some image can create various message. Because you have to remember, poem is about you, how you are conveying the message to the audience. Followed by the redefinition stage, where you are required to reverse the whole process. Okay, so you have to start by giving the student a theme for them to write a poem. Then they create an image from the poem. The image can be either AI generated based on their own drawing, or an art gallery can be done to conclude the activity. So here we have frequently asked question, what makes a strong recitation? Obviously a clear understanding of the poem, accurate pronunciation and appropriate rhythm. When you understand the poem, obviously you can give a proper recitation. And next, can contestant use character voices or accent? Absolutely no. Focus on poem's language and linguistic devices rather than dramatization. So here we are providing some additional resources. First, for the primary category, we have sample videos for Johor State Level Poetry Recitation Competition. Next, Johor State Level Poetry Recitation Competition for the secondary school. We also have link to the exemplary poetry recitation videos, voice projection articles, exemplary poetry recitation videos, and also articulations technique articles. You can just click on the link, on respective links to get access to it. So that's all from us. Thank you for listening. Reach out for any questions.
Thank you.
Goodbye.